The morning air in Seoul was cold. Cars rushed by on the wide roads, their horns filling the sky with noise. People walked quickly, holding their phones, drinking coffee, wearing fine suits. Life moved fast in the city, but not for everyone. On one side of the bridge, at the corner where the concrete turned dark from rain, a woman sat with her little boy. The boy was small, just 10 years old. His clothes were too big for him. His shoes had holes at the bottom. He sat close to his mother, pressing his head against her arm. The woman held out a small paper cup, asking for help from anyone who cared to look. Some people turned their eyes away. Some dropped coins without a word. Most walked past as if she was invisible. The woman's name was Mina. She had lived many hard years. At night, she and her son slept close to the corner wall of the bridge. The boy always curled into her arms to stay warm. The wind was strong at night, but she wrapped her thin shawl around him. She would whisper, "Sleep, my son. Tomorrow will be brighter." The boy's name was June. He did not complain. Even when his stomach was empty, even when his feet were cold, he tried to smile for his mother. He loved her with all his heart. When she felt weak, he would hold her hand tightly and say, "We are together, Mama. That is enough." Every day, Mina sat at the same place. She watched cars pass. She watched the rich, the poor, the busy, the tired. Her face showed sadness, but also strength. She had learned to survive. She had one reason to fight every day: her son. Across the bridge, inside one of the tall glass buildings, there was a man. His name was Ji-hoon. He was the CEO of a big company. People feared his voice, his sharp eyes, his power. He was known as a man who never smiled. He lived in a high apartment with every comfort money could buy. Yet inside, he was empty. He had no family, no one waiting for him at night, no one calling his name with love. Each morning, Ji-hoon's black car crossed that bridge, and each morning his eyes would fall on Mina and her son. At first, he did not care. He thought, another beggar, another poor woman. He would look away and return to his phone. But slowly, something changed. One morning, as the car stopped at the red light, Ji-hoon's eyes met Mina's. She was tired, but her eyes were kind. Her son leaned against her, and she brushed his hair away with gentle fingers. Ji-hoon looked longer than before. The image stayed with him even after the car moved. The next day, he looked again. The same woman, the same boy, same corner. The world rushed, but they were still there. He asked his driver, "Do they stay there every day?" The driver nodded. "Yes, sir. I see them often." For the first time in years, Ji-hoon felt something strange in his chest. He could not name it. Was it pity? Was it curiosity? He did not know. But every day after that, he looked for them. If he did not see them, he felt restless. One rainy morning, Ji-hoon's car stopped longer because of traffic. Mina sat holding a small piece of cardboard above her son's head, trying to shield him from the rain. Her hair was wet, her clothes stuck to her thin body, yet she smiled at the boy, whispering something that made him laugh. Ji-hoon turned his eyes away quickly, but that picture cut into him like a knife. At the office, he could not focus. His workers brought reports, spoke of profits and losses, but his mind returned to the woman and her son. He asked himself, "Why do I care? They're strangers. I should not care." That night, Ji-hoon sat in his wide apartment. The rooms were silent. He looked out at the city lights, remembering the boy's laughter in the rain. He poured himself a drink, but it tasted bitter. He could not push the thought away. The next morning, he made a decision. He told his driver, "Stop the car near the bridge." The driver was surprised, but obeyed. Ji-hoon stepped out. For the first time, he stood near Mina and June. Mina lowered her eyes, embarrassed. June looked up, his big eyes shining with innocence. Ji-hoon's heart shook. He dropped some money into the paper cup. Mina whispered, "Thank you, sir." Her voice was soft, polite, but tired. Ji-hoon walked away quickly, but his heart beat faster than ever before. From that day, he began to follow them with his eyes. He would sometimes watch from a distance, standing near the street or hiding behind his dark glasses. He saw how Mina begged all day, how she shared every coin with her son, never keeping anything for herself. He saw how June gave his food to a stray dog one afternoon, even when he was hungry. He saw their kindness, their pain, their love. Every scene cut deeper into Ji-hoon's heart. He began to wonder about their story. Why were they there? Why did the woman look both strong and broken at the same time? Why did the boy's eyes feel so familiar? And so the man who had everything began to follow a woman who had nothing. But he did not know that the truth he would soon find was bigger than love, bigger than pity. The truth would shake his world, for the boy he kept watching was not just any child. He was a part of Ji-hoon himself. The nights grew colder. The days grew longer. Ji-hoon's steps drew closer. A story was about to begin, one that none of them could escape.
The mornings kept passing, and Ji-hoon kept seeing Mina and June at the same spot on the bridge. Each day he told himself, "I will not look today." Yet, each day, his eyes betrayed him. They searched for the woman and her child, and when he saw them, something inside his chest moved. He started asking his driver questions. "Where do people like them sleep?" he asked one morning. The driver answered carefully. "Most of them find small corners under bridges or old bus stops, sir. They move from place to place. But some stay at one spot for years." Ji-hoon nodded but did not reply. In the office, his workers noticed he was changing. The cold man, who never cared about small talk, now asked strange questions. "Do you give money to beggars?" he asked his secretary one afternoon. She was surprised. "Sometimes, sir, if they look very poor." Ji-hoon turned away, lost in thought. That evening, he left work early. Instead of going home, he told his driver to stop far away from the bridge. He wanted to walk. His black shoes clicked against the road as he moved closer. From a distance, he saw them. Mina's thin body leaned against the bridge wall. June sat beside her, holding a small toy car someone had given him. They looked tired, but they still sat there with quiet strength. Ji-hoon stood at the corner, pretending to look at his phone, but his eyes stayed on them. He watched how Mina bent low to whisper something into her son's ear. The boy smiled. That smile pierced Ji-hoon's heart again. It was not the smile of a child who had food or comfort. It was the smile of a child who only had his mother, yet he made it enough. That night, Ji-hoon could not sleep. He lay on his soft bed, the blanket heavy over him, but his mind stayed on that bridge. He remembered June's small smile, his big eyes, and Mina's tired face. He thought, "Why do I feel like I know them? Why do I feel like I cannot leave them alone?" The next morning, instead of heading to work, Ji-hoon asked his driver to park near the bridge again. He stepped out quietly and followed them when Mina stood up and held June's hand. She walked slowly, her son beside her, as they moved toward a narrow street. Ji-hoon followed at a distance, careful not to be seen. They walked past small shops, through a dirty alley, and finally reached a corner where old cardboard was spread on the ground. Mina sat, pulling June close. Ji-hoon hid, watching. His throat tightened. This was where they spent their nights. A street corner. No roof, no bed, just cardboard and the open sky. For the first time in many years, Ji-hoon felt his eyes burn with tears. He turned quickly, ashamed. He was a man who never cried, yet here he was, hiding behind a wall, fighting against tears for a woman and child he did not know. The following days, he returned again and again. He told no one. In the office, he looked the same, strong, cold, in control. But every evening, he found himself near that street watching them. He saw how Mina gave her food to her son first before eating herself. He saw how June sometimes sang softly at night to make her mother smile. He saw how Mina prayed quietly with folded hands before closing her eyes. One evening, Ji-hoon decided to step closer. He walked toward them. Mina looked up, startled. Ji-hoon froze, unsure of what to say. Joon stared at him with those wide eyes. Ji-hoon finally spoke, his voice low. "Do you need something warm? Food, maybe." Mina's face turned red with shame. She shook her head quickly. "We are fine, sir. Thank you." Ji-hoon wanted to say more, but the words stuck in his throat. He nodded and left, his heart heavy. He had never felt so powerless. He had all the money, all the power, but he did not know how to help this one woman and her son without breaking some wall between them. Days turned into weeks. Ji-hoon kept watching. One rainy night, he saw Mina cover her son with her own body to keep him dry. She shivered from the cold, but she held him tight. Ji-hoon stood under his umbrella, watching from across the street, his fists tight. "Why do I care so much?" he whispered to himself. But he already knew. It was not just pity. It was not just curiosity. Something deeper pulled him closer each day, something he could not explain. One afternoon, Ji-hoon asked his secretary to bring toys. "For my nephew," he lied. But when evening came, he walked to the street corner and left the toy near June's cardboard. He did not stay to see the reaction. The next day, he saw June holding the toy, smiling as if it was the best gift in the world. Ji-hoon's chest warmed, and for a moment, he felt alive. The boy's smile reminded him of someone. He tried to remember. It felt like a shadow from his past, a memory he had buried. He shook his head, refusing to think too far, but the feeling would not leave him. One night, Ji-hoon heard a group of boys mocking June. They laughed, pointing at his torn shoes. Beggar boy, they shouted. June lowered his head, silent. Mina pulled him close, whispering for him not to mind it. Ji-hoon's blood boiled. He stepped forward, his voice sharp. "Enough! Leave them!" The boys froze and ran away. Mina looked up in surprise. Ji-hoon's eyes met hers. For a moment, silence held them. He turned and walked away quickly, his heart racing. That night, Ji-hoon could not forget the look in Mina's eyes. It was not just gratitude, it was something else, something deeper, as if she knew him, as if she had once seen him before. He drank 3 glasses of wine, but still could not sleep. His mind whispered, "There is something here, something you don't know yet." And slowly, the truth began to knock on the door of his memory. Ji-hoon had lived most of his life with a wall around his heart. He told himself he was too busy for emotions, too strong for regrets, and too smart for mistakes. But now, with each passing day, the wall was cracking. And it was not money, business, or success that was doing it. It was the woman with tired eyes and a child with a smile that refused to break. He found himself asking questions he had not asked in 10 years. He thought of the woman he once loved. He thought of the mistakes he had buried. But his mind kept turning away, refusing to go back. Still, when he looked at Joan's face, something deep inside him stirred. One evening, after leaving his office, Ji-hoon asked his driver to park far away. He wanted to follow Mina and June again. The sky was turning dark. Mina held Joan's hand as they walked slowly toward the corner where they slept. Ji-hoon kept his steps quiet behind them. At the cardboard bed, Mina pulled out a small plastic bag. Inside were 2 pieces of bread. She gave the bigger piece to June. He smiled and tried to give her half, but she refused. "Eat, my son. Mama is not hungry." Ji-hoon's heart twisted. He had eaten fine steak that afternoon, yet here was a mother pretending she was not hungry just so her child could eat. That night, Ji-hoon could not close his eyes. His past returned like an old wound. 10 years ago, he had left someone. He had walked away, telling himself it was the best decision for his career, his future, his freedom. The memory was blurred, but the pain was not. He had loved once, deeply, and then he had chosen himself over her. The next morning, Ji-hoon called his private investigator. I want you to follow someone, he said. A woman and her child. Find out everything. Where she came from, who she is, why she is here. The man nodded without questions. 2 days later, the investigator returned with some papers. He spoke carefully. Her name is Mina. She is 32 years old. She has a son named June, 10 years old. They have no home. She has no job. She has been seen at that bridge for almost a year now. Before that, she lived in a small rented room but could not pay anymore. She has no family here. The father of her child is unknown. Ji-hoon froze at the last line. The father is unknown. His voice shook slightly. The investigator nodded. She never speaks of him. People only know she raised the boy alone. Ji-hoon dismissed the man, but kept staring at the paper. His hand trembled. A strange fear rose in him, one he had not felt in years. He told himself it could not be true. It was only a thought, a shadow, nothing more. Yet his heart whispered differently. That evening, Ji-hoon returned to the bridge. He stood across the street, watching as Mina combed her son's hair with her fingers. The boy laughed and leaned into her arms. Ji-hoon's chest tightened. He wanted to step closer, to ask her questions, but he could not. Instead, he began to dream. At night, he saw the boy in his dreams, calling out, running toward him. He saw Mina's eyes, filled with both love and sorrow. He woke up sweating, unable to rest. One rainy night, Ji-hoon could not stop himself. He walked straight to Mina. She looked up, startled. June looked too, holding tightly to his mother's hand. Ji-hoon crouched low, his expensive suit wet from the rain. "Why are you here?" he asked softly. Mina's lips trembled. "Life has not been kind, sir." Ji-hoon wanted to ask more, but he saw the shame in her eyes. He swallowed his words and stood again. He pulled out his wallet and gave her some money. She shook her head. "No, sir. I take only what is given freely by strangers. Not too much, just enough for bread." Ji-hoon stared at her. Most beggars took whatever they could, but Mina refused. She had pride even in her pain. That night, Ji-hoon sat in his car for a long time before going home. His driver glanced at him through the mirror. The great CEO, who always walked with pride, now looked broken. Over the next weeks, Ji-hoon's questions grew stronger. Who was June's father? Why did the boy's smile look so familiar? Why did Mina's voice sound like something he once knew? One afternoon, Ji-hoon asked the investigator again. Check her past. 10 years ago. Where was she? Who was she with? It took days, but the investigator came back with more. She studied at a small college before life turned hard. She once dated a man, but his name is not clear. She never spoke of him to anyone. Ji-hoon's throat dried. He remembered a young woman he once loved in those days. Her laughter, her voice, her touch. He had left her without goodbye. Could Mina be that woman? Could June be? The thought was too much. Ji-hoon locked himself in his office that night, staring at the city lights. He whispered, "No, it cannot be true. If it is true, then what have I done?" He pressed his hand to his chest, feeling his heart beat fast. He thought of June's eyes again. Yes, they looked like his own when he was young. He thought of Mina's face. Yes, it carried the same shape he once touched. The truth was no longer far. It was close, very close. The following evening, Ji-hoon walked to them again. June was sleeping on Mina's lap. She hummed a soft lullaby. Ji-hoon stood silently listening. The melody was one he knew. His mother used to sing it to him. He stepped closer, his voice shaking. "Where did you learn that song?" Mina froze. Her eyes rose slowly to meet his. For a long time, silence stretched. Then she whispered, "From someone I once loved." Ji-hoon's body cold. His lips parted, but no words came. He wanted to ask everything, but his fear held him still. He turned and walked away quickly, his mind burning with questions he could not silence anymore. That night, Ji-hoon stood at his window, looking at the stars. His voice cracked. Could it be? Is that boy mine? And my friend, the story is only getting deeper. Ji-hoon is standing at the edge of a truth that can change his whole life. But will he face it, or will he run away again? You will find out in the next chapter. If this story has touched your heart so far, don't just leave. Make sure you subscribe to this channel right now. Click the bell icon so you never miss what happens next, and share this video with someone who loves powerful stories. And tell me in the comments, do you think the boy is really Ji-hoon's son? I want to hear your thoughts.
Ji-hoon was no longer the same man. The strong CEO who commanded boardrooms, signed billion-won deals, and walked with pride, now found himself weak before a woman on the street. Each day he told himself to stop watching her, to stop thinking of the boy. Yet each day he returned to the bridge as if his heart had tied itself to their corner. The words Mina spoke the night before would not leave his mind. From someone I once loved. That sentence played again and again in his head like an endless echo. He knew the truth was near. He knew the door to his past was opening, but he was afraid to step through it. One afternoon, Ji-hoon stood in front of a mirror in his office. He looked into his own eyes, searching for Jun's reflection. The boy's face came back to him, those big brown eyes that carried both sadness and light. Ji-hoon whispered to himself, "No, it cannot be. But if it is true, then what kind of man am I?" That evening, he went to the bridge again. Mina sat as always, her son beside her. This time, Ji-hoon did not hide. He walked straight to her. Mina looked up, surprised. Jun looked too, clutching his small toy car tightly. Ji-hoon took a breath and sat down near them. The busy city around them continued to move, but for Ji-hoon, time slowed. He spoke softly. "Tell me about your life. Why are you here?" Mina lowered her eyes. For a long time, she did not answer. Then her voice came, tired but steady. "Life did not turn out as I dreamed. I studied once, worked once, but when I had my son, everything changed. I was left alone. I tried to fight, but the world was stronger than me." Ji-hoon's chest tightened. His next question trembled in his throat. "And the boy's father?" Mina's hand froze on her son's hair. Her lips pressed together. After a long pause, she whispered, "He left us long ago." Ji-hoon's heart dropped. He wanted to ask more, but Mina's eyes warned him not to. She had carried that pain for too long. He respected her silence, though his mind screamed for answers. That night, Ji-hoon could not rest. He walked back and forth in his apartment, his fists clenched. His memory began to clear. 10 years ago, he had been a different man, ambitious, cold, determined to rise at any cost. He remembered a young woman with a warm smile who had loved him. He remembered her gentle voice telling him she was carrying his child. And he remembered the cruel choice he had made. He had walked away, saying he was not ready. His chest burned with shame. Was Mina that woman? Was Jun the child he had abandoned before birth? The pieces of the puzzle were falling into place, but he could not accept them fully. The truth was too heavy. The next day, Ji-hoon left work early again. He bought a bag of food and carried it to the bridge. Mina looked at him with surprise as he placed it before her. "Please," he said, "at least for the boy." She hesitated, then nodded, whispering thanks. Jun's eyes lit up as he saw rice and soup inside. He smiled wide, and that smile struck Ji-hoon like lightning. Ji-hoon's hands shook. That smile, it was his own smile from years ago. He had seen it in old photographs of himself as a boy. Now it was alive again on Jun's face. He could no longer escape. That night, Ji-hoon stayed near their street corner. He stood in the shadows as Mina told Jun a story before bed. Her voice was soft, carrying love with every word. Jun's laughter filled the air. Ji-hoon closed his eyes, and tears slipped down his face. He had missed 10 years of this, 10 years of watching his son grow, 10 years of love he had thrown away. The following morning, Ji-hoon made his decision. He would speak. He would not hide anymore. He found Mina at her usual spot and walked to her. His voice was low but firm. "Mina, I must ask you something. Was I the man you once loved?" Mina's eyes widened. Her hands froze. She looked away quickly, but the silence between them gave him his answer. Ji-hoon's body shook. He stepped closer, his words breaking. "Is Jun my son?" Mina's lips trembled. She pressed her face into her hands. Tears slipped through her fingers. For a long moment she could not speak. Jun looked between them, confused. "Mama, what is wrong?" Finally, Mina raised her head. Her voice cracked. "Yes, Ji-hoon, he is yours. You left us 10 years ago." The words hit Ji-hoon like thunder. His knees weakened. He lowered himself slowly onto the cold ground. His eyes burned, his throat tight. He whispered, "My son." Jun stared, his small brows furrowed. "Mama, what does he mean? Who is he?" Mina pulled her child close, her tears falling onto his hair. She did not answer, for she did not yet know how. Ji-hoon sat there silent. The powerful CEO was gone. In his place was a broken man who had just met his own blood after 10 long years. The truth was out, and nothing could hide it anymore.
The bridge was louder that evening. Cars rushed by, horns blaring, yet all Ji-hoon could hear was the sound of Mina's words. "Yes, Ji-hoon, he is yours. You left us 10 years ago." He sat frozen on the cold ground, his heart pounding so hard it felt like it might burst. Jun's wide eyes moved between them. "Mama, who is he? Why is he calling me his son?" Mina pulled him close, her face pale. She could not answer. Her lips opened, but no sound came. Ji-hoon reached out, his hand trembling. "Jun, I am your father." The boy stared, confused, as if trying to solve a puzzle too heavy for his young mind. He shook his head. "No, my father is gone. Mama said he left us. So who are you?" Before Ji-hoon could speak again, Mina stood sharply. Her eyes were fierce now, even through tears. "Enough, Ji-hoon. You had 10 years to be a father, 10 years to stand beside me. Where were you? Where were you when I begged the landlord for one more week of rent? Where were you when he fell sick with no medicine? Where were you when I starved myself to feed him?" Each question was a knife to Ji-hoon's chest. He lowered his head, unable to answer. The silence between them was heavy, almost unbearable. Then a voice cut through the air. "Mina!" All three turned. An older man was walking toward them. His clothes were rough, his eyes sharp. Jun's face brightened. "Uncle Pyong!" He ran to the man, hugging his waist. Ji-hoon's stomach twisted. Who was this man? Why did Jun call him uncle? Byung looked at Ji-hoon with suspicion. Who is this? Mina's lips trembled, but she finally said, He is Jun's father. Byung's face hardened. He pulled Jun closer to his side. Then why now? After all these years, do you think you can just appear and take them away? Ji-hoon stood slowly, his tall figure towering over Byung, but inside he felt small. I only learned the truth now. Byung's laugh was bitter. Truth? The truth is you abandoned them. You don't deserve them. Jun looked between them all, his small body shaking. His world was breaking apart. His mama, his uncle, and now a stranger claiming to be his father. He pressed his hands to his ears, tears filling his eyes. Stop! Stop fighting! He shouted. His voice echoed louder than the horns of the cars. Mina rushed to her son, holding him tight. She glared at Ji-hoon. Do you see what you are doing? He lived in peace, even with nothing, but you bring storms. Ji-hoon's chest burned. He wanted to argue, but guilt sealed his lips. He looked at Jun again, his eyes soft. I only want to know him, to give him the life he deserves. Byung stepped forward, his voice sharp. And what? Tear him from the only mother he knows? Money does not make you a father. Love does. Ji-hoon flinched. He knew the man was right, but he also knew something else. He was Jun's blood. He was tied to him by fate, no matter how much time had passed. That night, Ji-hoon could not leave. He stood at a distance, watching as Mina and Byung comforted Jun. He saw the boy finally fall asleep in his mother's lap, tears still on his cheeks. Ji-hoon's heart ached. He whispered, "I will not lose him again, not this time." The next morning, Ji-hoon returned. Mina looked tired, her eyes swollen from crying. Byung stood by, protective as always. Ji-hoon stepped forward, determination in his eyes. "Mina, I cannot change the past, but give me a chance to fix the future. I want to take responsibility." Mina's face twisted with anger. "Now you want responsibility, after 10 years of silence." Ji-hoon's voice cracked. "I was a fool, I was blind, but I see now. I cannot erase my mistake, but I cannot walk away again." Before Mina could reply, Jun spoke softly. His small voice was trembling. "If you are really my father, then why did you not want me?" The question stabbed Ji-hoon deeper than any words Mina could say. He dropped to his knees before his son. Tears rolled down his face, the proud CEO broken. "I was young. I was selfish. I thought of myself, not you. But I was wrong, Jun. I was wrong." Jun's lips quivered. His eyes filled again. He looked at his mother, then back at Ji-hoon. His voice was almost a whisper. "Can I believe you?" The world seemed to stop. Mina's hands tightened around her son. Byung's eyes narrowed. Ji-hoon's answer was simple but heavy. "I will prove it. No matter how long it takes, I will show you that I am your father, not just by blood, but by heart." For the first time, Mina's eyes softened. Pain still rested in them, but something else flickered. Hope, fragile and trembling.
Yet, before the moment could settle, a car stopped at the edge of the bridge. A woman stepped out. She wore a fine dress, her hair styled, her lips painted red. She walked straight toward Ji-hoon. "Ji-hoon," she called sharply. Everyone turned. Mina's body stiffened. Byung frowned. The boy looked confused. The woman reached Ji-hoon, grabbing his arm. "What are you doing here with these people?" Mina's face went pale. Jun clutched her hand tightly. Byung stepped closer, ready to defend. Ji-hoon's heart sunk. He whispered, "Not now, Hae-jin." But it was too late. Mina's eyes filled with new tears. She turned away, her voice breaking. "So you already belong to another woman, and yet you come to break us again." Ji-hoon tried to speak, but his throat closed. He looked at Mina, at Jun, at the storm his presence had brought. The world he had built on power and silence was now crumbling in front of his own child. And as the traffic roared and the city lights blinked, Ji-hoon realized the truth. Love, guilt, pride, and fate were now colliding. His next move would either save them or destroy them forever.